Texas high school football is just 4 days away, or 3 days away, really, because, we always think about when you start a party, Max, you got to pop the cork, right? Everybody wants to pop the cork. And the guy who will be popping the cork on the 2017 Texas high school football season is the head coach of the El Paso Pebble Hills Spartans. We are joined by Coach Mark Torres. Coach, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you guys?
Doing excellent. Thank you for spending a little bit of your day with us. We are really excited to have you start playing football, because that means football is going to be starting across the state. You guys will play El Paso Irvin at 4 o'clock Mountain Time, 5 o'clock Central Time in the first game of the Texas high school football season. I guess, how does it feel? You're gonna pop the cork on this thing.
Yeah, we're obviously really excited about not only starting out the season for Texas, but it'll be our first senior class. So these guys have been excited. They've been chomping at the bit since our season ended last year, and we're ready for it.
It's going to be exciting. You guys are taking on El Paso Irvin to start the year, and I want to ask you a little bit about, you mentioned your first senior class. You guys are a new program, a program that has been building up and building up in this year, third year in 2017. When you look at how this program has changed and how it's changed from maybe the first time you walked in, what stands out to you?
Well, it was a very, very awkward situation that I walked into. When I got here, this was El Dorado Ninth Grade Academy. I was the first official hire of Pebble Hills High School, and it was still considered El Dorado High School. So I would walk around with my Pebble Hills stuff on, and everybody else was an Aztec. It was the most awkward situations you could be in. And these kids, they had a choice. We didn't hold anything against them. The district allowed them to choose whether they wanted to continue their high school career at El Dorado, or if they chose, they could stay at Pebble Hills and help build this thing. So that was the biggest challenge, was that we did not have a varsity year to offer the athletes that were kind of ahead and had a chance to be a varsity player as a sophomore. And so that's kind of been a challenge. But we were able to get our hands on all our kids at a young age, develop them the right way. We had a sophomore team that was a JV team, and we also had a freshman and a developmental squad. So we've just kind of taken it step by step.
I want to ask you a little bit about that process of those kids. You said those kids kind of got to choose between staying at El Dorado and playing for a program that's established itself as one of the premier programs in El Paso, or going over to Pebble Hills and kind of starting a Spartans program. What does it say about those kids who made that choice to go and start something with the Spartans?
Well, I tell them all the time, I love them for that, because they didn't have to be here. Our juniors and our seniors right now, they all had a choice to come here or go to El Dorado. And the ones that really wanted to be here, they stuck it out, because we did not make it easy on them. We came in kind of with an iron fist. It was going to be this way or no way. And it was not at all easy. And so the kids that decided to go over to El Dorado from here after they started with us, that may have been the reason why. They could fly under the radar if they'd have gone over there, because they had a lot more kids to worry about. And we had a very limited number of kids to worry about, so they had no opportunity to get away with anything at that time. So it's been very hard on them. Not all of them have made it through, obviously, but the ones that have made it all the way through, they are very near and dear to our hearts for sure.
They are the foundation of the program upon which everything else is built, and I know that I think in Texas high school football, a lot of times we look at the record as kind of the bottom line. You guys, you went 2-8 last year, but I feel like those 2 wins had to be some of the most satisfying moments of your life, because you talk about having that bond with those kids who made that choice to go and start this Spartans program. I imagine that 2 wins might as well have been 20.
Well, yes and no. We talked to the guys last year before the season started, and we had to kind of let them know this was not a one-year deal. They weren't one and done. They weren't going to be remembered for what happened in 2016, because they're not graduating. They get one more year, one more crack at it. It's kind of like a baseball schedule or basketball schedule where you go through the same thing 2 rounds in a row. You make your adjustments, but the difference we have is that we're all back, and everybody we play is going to be missing quite a few guys. So there's a different lens that our kids get to look at the competition through this time around, and we feel pretty good about what lies ahead.
We're talking with Mark Torres, the head coach of the El Paso Pebble Hills Spartans here on Texas Football Today. Get involved in the conversation, #TFToday. Coach, I want to give you an opportunity to brag on a couple of your kids. One of them is your middle linebacker, Kevin Esquivel, and I think unquestionably the leader of this defense, a guy who was a first-team All-District guy, which is certainly saying something in District 1-6A, as the guy who gets to watch Kevin operate in practice and in every game. What can you tell us about this young man?
Well, he's a leader, but he's not a vocal leader. Mm-hmm. He's not our rah-rah guy. A lot of times I got to get on him about his body language because, he doesn't. He's kind of the Charles Barkley. Your parents are leaders and role models, that kind of thing, and he just wants to play. But I'll tell you what, from snap to whistle, he is the best middle linebacker in town, and he has gotten better, and he has gotten faster. And I think just understanding the game and his keys and his reads, he is getting pretty good. So we saw a little of that Friday night against Eastlake. Eastlake's got a tremendous offense, and Kevin was seen out there. Let's put it that way. So I'm excited for him. And, his approach is just more of an example. He plays extremely hard. He doesn't complain about anything. And he certainly gets the job for us done in the middle.
On the offensive side, you guys got, obviously bringing back 8 starters offensively is critical for you guys. I want to ask you a little bit about who we should be watching out for offensively. Is there 1 or 2 guys that you think could become, let's say, household names in El Paso by year's end?
Well, a couple of them already are household names. Justin Wolf was an all-district receiver for us last year. He's a big target. He'll be playing wide receiver and tight end. He'll be putting his hand in the ground for us this year. Kevin Averett was he was a newcomer of the year last year, and he'll be all over the field for us. But the one that's kind of flying under the radar, and he'll get many more touches this time around, is our junior running back / athlete, Caleb Gerber. He'll return kicks and punts. He'll play a little quarterback. He'll play running back, wide receiver, you name it. We feel he's certainly a mismatch for us because we've got 2 big other targets, if not more, at the skill position. So he's a guy we're looking for to get a mismatch on every time we get the ball.
And then I want to ask you, one thing that I've read about is you guys, is this free safety of yours, Deonte Moore, who's a tremendous player, and I know that he's a great on-the-field player, but I understand he has a pretty special story off the field as well. Can you tell us a little bit about your outstanding free safety, Deonte Moore?
Well, Deonte's kind of a leader in the classroom. He's a part of our Avid program. He's kind of an ambassador for it. He's gone to talk to kids coming up through the feeder pattern about the importance of it and how it's affected him. But, aside from that, his little brother is someone who's kind of sickly. He's got sickle cell, and he's in and out of the hospital all the time. And Deonte's kind of had to take on a bigger role because of it. Mom will have to be away for days on end to be with his little brother, and he's had to mature at an accelerated rate. And to be able to do that in, junior high and high school, and to be where he is, not only as a player, but as a young man and as a student who's going to go to a good college. He's got good grades. He's got everything you need to be successful. And, his maturity level is just through the roof. And so we're very, very proud that we have someone like Deonte Moore in our program to help set an example for those that are following him.
We're talking with Mark Torres, the head coach of the El Paso Pebble Hills Spartans here on Texas Football Today. Get involved in the conversation at TF today. Coach, I mentioned it a little bit earlier, but 1-6A does you no favors. You guys are in a tough district, and I know that you guys are the new kids in town, but I know that those squads are not going to take any pity on you. It's going to be tough a week in and week out. Great squads like Montwood, El Dorado, Eastwood, Franklin, just to name a few. When you take a look at District 1-6A, I know you guys are looking to jump up and nab one of those playoff spots. What do you see when you look at District 1-6A as a whole?
Parity.
Yeah.
Parity. Everybody is good at something, and everybody is better than you at something. So it's just a matter of how you match up with people. That's what I really believe. Everybody is good in a certain area. That may not be your strength. If it is your strength, then, kind of good luck to you. It's a lot of close games in our district when that does happen. So, I don't know that anybody is head and shoulders above anybody else at this point. I'm no stranger to 1-6A. I came over here from Franklin, and that was the case while I was over there too. We won a couple of championships while we were there, and we worried every week. Nobody ever takes it easy on anybody. And certainly last year, I think there were a couple of guys that made it a point to kind of stick it to us for whatever reason. Being that we were young, I guess they thought it would be fun to do that, but we certainly didn't forget. And, that's motivation for us moving forward. The best part about that is those teams that did try to really stick it to us, later in the year, we played some better teams, and we fared better later down the stretch. Our last two games were against two guys that shared the district championship, two of the three teams. And, by no means were they close games or down to the wire, but I can tell you for a fact we competed a heck of a lot better in those games than we did against a couple of guys that decided to kind of, twist the knife, if you know what I mean. So I feel good about that. Our kids feel good about that. And we just got to do it like everybody else does. Try to stay healthy, prepare the very best we can, and not beat ourselves, because as I see it, a lot of these games are going to come down to one score. And if you don't beat yourself, you have a good chance to come out with a win.
It's a vengeful Pebble Hills squad that will take the field on Thursday at 4 o'clock Mountain Time, 5 o'clock Central Time in B.
Well, not vengeful with the Rockets,
Yes, El Paso. To be clear, El Paso Irvin didn't do this.
Yeah. No. Hey, I'm an alum of Irvin High. I'm very proud to be from there. Coach Urias was one of my coaches. I coached alongside of him for 5 years, and so we will be ready for Thursday, no doubt. But no, they're not getting any special treatment from us.
There you go. They're excluded from the vengeance. Let's put it that way. One more question for Mark Torres, and I had to do this because Matt Stepp, Dave Campbell's Texas Football High School Football Insider, made me ask you about this. He wanted me to ask you about the machaca you guys ate at Kiki's out there in El Paso. He said you took him to lunch. Is that correct? And I know Matt is a fan of food.
Matt is a fan of food. We got in touch. He came down for the 7-on-7 qualifier a couple of years ago. And, he wanted to meet up. He wanted to kind of get the lowdown on this new school out here. And he mentioned he was a fan of food. So I said, all right, well, I think one of the best meals in town you can get is the Machaca plate at Kiki's over around Austin High. And so we met there. It was an evening, and we had a good time, got to know each other pretty good, and he wasted no time cleaning that plate, that's for sure.
That sounds like Matt. Did you order the machaca? That's important too.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Oh, okay.
No, that's what you get when you come to El Paso and go to Kiki's.
He is Mark Torres. He is the head coach of the El Paso Pebble Hills Spartans. Follow him on Twitter at Coach Mark Torres. Coach, I really appreciate your time. Congratulations on everything that you guys have built out there at Pebble Hills. I know it has been a something that you have to feel very proud of. So congratulations on all that, and best of luck on Thursday and throughout 2017.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you guys for having us. And any time you want to get a hold of us or find out what's going on out here, we'd be more than happy to join you.
All right. That sounds like a plan. Mark Torres. Appreciate it, Coach.
Thank you.